Somebody once told me a big ogre belly is enough to turn a skinky boy into gelatin. I don't know why that came up as a topic in conversation, but seems like it might have been an accurate portrayal of the situation, because we've got ogre pirates here in Lustria, the Maneaters of Sartosa and Aranessa Saltspite teaming up on the End Times mod by the Duke to raid the temples of Lustria for all that luscious booty. Expect lots of cutlasses, eye patches, peg legs, and copious amounts of rum as the drunken swashbucklers of the pirate coast match their wits and weapons against big, scary dinosaurs. Carnosaurs, Troglodons, salamanders, you name it, and you will need to completely ignore the balance bar this entire game. It gets unbelievably wonky, and I do not know why, but there are essentially no army losses in the end time, so don't worry about it one way or the other. The Duke himself is playing Sartosa, everyone's favorite fishwaifu, rocking Manon's Luck and the Spearfisher's Net, but Maneater Buccaneers are the heavy lifters in this one, and they be some mighty thick chunguses, if I do say so myself. Their pistols have very high missile strength and can penetrate through an entire enemy formation, but they have limited ammunition, only 4 volleys, so you have to use those shots wisely. Naturally, they have their gut plates and pirate cutlasses for nasty work in CQB as well. On the flanks are some elven Corsairs, colonists who fled civilization for a different life on the high seas, bog standard sword and buckler infantry teaming up with Sartosan militia, and boarders armed with axes and a hooked shield contact effect lets them charge into melee, lower enemy missile block chance, then fire their pistols at point blank range. Pretty cool, versatile unit, but low armor, which marks most of the Sartosan roster. On the other side are the Crow's Nest Marksmen, super long range and bonus for large rifles for sniping out some of those big dinos, and a Death Shriek Terrorgeist on Overwatch, ready to send some supersonic blast the way of the Lizardmen. And I think that's the only undead unit on the Sartosan roster in this battle, besides some scurvy dogs that are hanging out in the back of the map. Across the jungle, the Children of the Old Ones are on the prowl, Feral Cold Ones in the vanguard, alongside some salamander hunting pack. One thing that you should keep an eye on is that every projectile in the end times moves quite a bit faster than it does in the base game, so muskets, gunpowder, salamander shots with those lava spewing out of their mouths, that's all going to move and make contact much quicker than it would in the base game. In the back hunts the premier predator of Lustria, an Oldblood with his trusty Carnosaur, Horn of Kygor, Amulet of Itzel for that 66% ward save and stand your ground, and a Vanguard Wing, all skinks, all invisible, all silently moving through the trees, ready to unleash a nasty little ambush on the flank of the Sartosan army, and led, naturally, by a Skink Oracle on a Troglodon, and you'll have a lot of ways to impact the battle here. You can kill stuff from range with that poison, you can kill stuff in melee because it has solid stats, it is a Spinosaur after all, and it has that terror. So what we're going to see here are the Buccaneers, the Ogre Maneaters are the main part of this army, but the Sartosan militia and all that gunpowder in the back, it will do work against the low armor of the Chameleons, against the low armor of all this Vanguard Wing coming in right now. So we're going to see a fight brewing on the right flank before everything else. Sartosan militia don't know how much stuff is out there. They can only see the Skink Oracle at the moment, but really that should tell you everything you need to know. If a Troglodon is getting that aggressive by itself, it probably has support, and usually that will be in the form of Chameleons or Chameleon Stalkers. So a lot of range firepower being set up here. This is one thing that Skinks do incredibly well after the Silence of the Fury came out, is the fact that a Troglodon can go in, soak up a lot of fire, cause some terror outs, more importantly, cause infantry to blob up around it, and then lay it up for the Chameleon Stalkers and their explosive blowpipes, which will be devastating against the low armor of these Sartosan pirates. So they've completely caught the Sartosan militia and all these Corsairs with their pants down on this flank, and the opening volleys will be pretty devastating. Already, quite a few Sartosan militia down to 1/3 health. Terrorgeist is coming in to support, but it's a bit wary. It realizes the threat those Chameleon Stalkers pose with their explosive flaming blowpipes. That burst damage against single entities, especially ones that are weak to flame, could be seriously problematic for the undead bat. Spearfisher's Net going down on the Saurus Oldblood and his Carnosaur. It does not root an enemy in place in the end times, it just slows them down by 30%. Lowers their melee defense, but already the Carno is beating up on Aranessa and needs some help. So the Terrorgeist will be forced to land. Rest of the gunpowder troops moving up on top of that hill, ready to fire in. So the dinos might not be able to stick in that situation for too much longer as more and more troops line up and get ready to shoot some volleys in. The Buccaneers up top could do that, and here come the Scurvy Dogs. Nice ambush from the Duke, and I don't think they'll be able to beat Chameleons in melee, actually. Take a look at the stats here. Scurvy Dogs have pretty bad stats. Chameleons aren't terrible in melee. They might be able to defend themselves, but we'll see. Either way, zoning them out, making sure they can't fire in on some of the more important troops, so not a bad idea at all. Should be able to cause some damage in the back lines. Meanwhile, Skink Cohort with the big flank, opting for the hammer and anvil instead of going for the ogres, which of course they wouldn't be able to beat in melee, but they could tie them down for a little bit. And now they're exposing themselves to some pretty disgusting volleys from the Buccaneers. Look at how much damage that opening one did. About 30 skinks dead, and most of that was from penetrating multiple models. So yeah, those guns do a lot of damage. They have some serious punching power for sure. I'd like to see the base game ones get implemented more like that. I think it's more fitting. They're carrying literal hand cannons. Look at how big those pistols are. Those are more like bolters than they are a sidearm kind of weapon. They're the size of their freaking head, and they have big heads. So Skink Cohort taking a lot of damage from these volleys here, and while they are going to finish off that Sartosa militia very quickly and opening things up on this side, they're just putting themselves in a situation where they're going to rout soon after because they took so much fire from those Buccaneers. Meanwhile, Salamanders firing in with their own bonus for large projectiles. It's a great target for them. They do have a bonus for large just like the base game. You see those projectiles are even faster in the End Times mod, and if you want a unit that can spit super hot fire towards large targets, well, Salamander Hunting Pack are certainly one of the better choices. Sartosa militia tied down in the rear by a bunch of clever girls who managed to flank all the way around, and I'll be interested to see what the Cold Ones can do in this situation. They don't have a lot of support out here. The Skink Cohort have already broken off. A lot of the infantry from the Lizardmen have already been pushed backwards, just sundered apart by all those withering Ogre Buccaneer volleys. And I'd like to see these Cold Ones go in when they have a little bit more Skink Cohort support. I think they can do some damage here. It's not a bad engagement for them, but the Buccaneers don't represent a major threat to the Lizardmen high-value targets at the moment. They're not in range of the Troglodon or the Carnosaur, so if you hold on to this ambush a little bit longer, wait till your infantry comes back, then you can team up together with those and probably tie them down for a lot longer, maybe even kill off an Ogre unit or two. Meanwhile, the Oldblood is in the center of everything, ripping and tearing until it is done. Sartosa militia, a lot of gunpowder troops firing in, and the Buccaneers are nearby too, so I don't think the Oldblood will want to stay in there for too much longer, but he can pop that Amulet of Itzel if he feels like it's worth sticking in for a little bit longer. His HP is dropping quickly though, so I think we will see him try to disengage at some point relatively soon. Terrorgeist is retreating away from the Troglodon and the Salamanders. Remember, they do deal flaming damage in melee as well, so yeah, Terrorgeist does not want to fight that. Not by itself. Horn of Kygor pops, Frenzy is popped, and the Carnosaur is looking to disengage if he can. Nice, this is exactly what I wanted to see from the Lizardmen here. Full surround off on the Ogres now, and while the Ogres will deal a tremendous amount of damage with their cutlasses in melee, and they do have some support from the Buccaneers on top of the hill, firing in with their gunpowder, I think we'll see the Skink Cohort manage to drag down quite a few of these Ogre models. They do not have a lot of armor, so well played from the Lizardmen there, and we get to see some delectable sync animations. Lick that cutlass, baby. There we go. Maneaters are so freaking cool, dude. They've done a great job so far. They've cleared a lot of chaff off the field, but it's hard for them to get their value back against this army because it's mostly Skinks, Skink Cohort, Chameleon Stalkers, Chameleon Skirmishers. Most of it isn't very expensive. Really only the Troglodon and the Carnosaur are, and they have very limited ammunition, so if you're clearing chaff off the field, you're not going to have ammo left to shoot in to the big dinos. It's where the Terrorgeist will come in. It's where the Undead Bat will have to put in some serious work if they want to get those dinosaurs off the field. But I say that, the Gunpowder troops seem to be doing a pretty good job of it too. Troglodon down to like 1/10 its health pool, and looks like this ambush has finally been cleared out. I love the fact that the Buccaneers will charge into melee with the cutlasses, but then still use their pistols in CQB as well. So it's almost like they've got a double attack animation. I think that's why their DPS in this instance is so high. They'll stab you, they'll slice you, they'll use their gut plates to smash you, and then they'll shoot you in the face from point blank range. Pretty damn cool unit. Really like seeing them in action, and we're about to get another charge here. Oh, they stopped. They stopped right before it. I'm not sure why. The Oldblood is dead. The Carnosaur falls to the Terrorgeist. Nice engagement from the Duke there, and the Troglodon also about to fall. It's out. It's done. The dinosaurs are dead, and those are big blows to the Lizardmen. Now, you look at the balance board and you say, oh, this game's over. Again, no, it's freaking not. It actually does not even remotely represent what's going on in this battle. I have no idea what happened with the balance bar here. We will not mention it again because it's just so freaking wrong. But if you look at what's left for both sides, everything's in tatters. There are still swarms of chameleons, but most of them are relatively reduced in their HP pools. Salamander hunting pack with the full surround off on the Terrorgeist, while remnants of Sartosa militia fire in from the flank. I think this is the fight that Lizardmen want to take. They need that Terrorgeist off the field, and the best way to do so is to get flaming units fully surrounding them, use the mass, and prevent the bat from escaping. There are still rampaging cold ones. Half the unit got tied up on the Ogre Buccaneers, and they'll be forced back into melee with some pretty heavy hitting troops. But the Ogre Buccaneers aren't monsters in melee. They're good there. They can definitely clear out tons of Skink cohort and maybe even kill off this cold one unit. Looks like they're going to be able to, but they're not a dedicated melee troop, and so when they run out of ammo, they can be dragged down by stuff like cold ones or Skink cohort. Got that cool looking somersault animation coming in. Should be able to finish off these boarders who have a bonus versus infantry, but their hook shield contact effect won't help against the monsters from Lustria. Back here, oh, we've got a full surround off. Skink cohort coming in from the rear. Tons of kills for the Buccaneers, but they are in a precarious position. They do not have a lot of armor, and they're being attacked from every single flank at the moment. A full surround off. They are not tanky. They are not particularly survivable, and you can see that HP pool starting to plummet. Even against all these low-tier troops, they're just completely outnumbered. They're outgunned, even though they have some big-ass guns, and they might just die there. Chameleon Skinks with a full surround off on Aranessa Saltspite, and the poison will lower her stats tremendously, make it more difficult for her triple pull action to persuade them to leave. Looks like she's going to be able to force them back, but they're not routing. They just realized, hey, we've got more important fish to fry, and they're going for the Terrorgeist, which is down to 1/3 health. The Ogres are gone. Fantastic engagement from Al and B there. The Skink cohort, I would not have thought they could do that much, but with the rear charge and the low armor of those Sartosan Buccaneers, the Ogres are routed, and there are only a handful of them left on the field now. Aranessa's down to half health as well, and we've got a barn burner here, folks. We're 10 minutes in, and this one is still very much up in the air. The Terrorgeist might just fall. Can't seem to get up into the air itself. Getting poisoned, and that 162 speed is rather irrelevant if you're stuck on the ground, because it's only that fast when it's flying. It can't fly. It's being dragged down by a bunch of angry chameleons who just swarmed it now. And this is not where Terrorgeists are meant to be fighting. They do not want to be in the middle of hordes of infantry. They have attacks that are very much specific to dealing with large targets and monsters and high-value single entities, and while that terror is certainly helping, and he now has support from Aranessa, you can see that his HP is taking quite a beating, and he's actually at the healing cap now as well, which is a huge deal as we move into the later stages of this battle. What I'm curious about is if all those chameleons are about to break off the map. They're really close to that white line. Spearfisher's net going down on the cold ones. Remember, it won't root them in place, only slow them by 30% and make it easier for Aranessa to land some attacks in. But the rest of the Skink cohort are coming back in to support. Aranessa doesn't have a lot of armor herself, and she might be in the exact same situation the Ogre Buccaneers were, surrounded by Skink cohort and by cold ones. She is taking a lot of damage. The ward save is helping her out for now. Salamanders were just chased off the map by the Terrorgeist, who's coming back in. Could be a terror rout imminent for the children of the old ones. Breath attack lined up here, but seems to be even more focused on single entity damage than it is in the base game, and did almost nothing to the cohort there. Needs to land though. Big terror rout, big attack from the rear. Nicely played. But that attack animation might carry it further into the middle of the Lizardmen horde. Here come the Ogres. There are 3 models left and a few Sartosan militia. Every single unit left on the field running on fumes at this point. But the Chameleons, about to rout off for sure, especially once the Ogres make contact. And that was a big charge. They just killed a good 8 or so models, and with that rear attack, paired with the Terrorgeist, that should be enough to send the Chameleons running for the edge of the map. Now they're being gutted by massive cutlasses and shot off the top of them. Lick that thing. Yeah, buddy. Oh, here comes the belly flaps. Here come those massive belly flaps. Somebody once told me the world was gonna roll me. It's getting brutal for Lizardmen right now for sure. I would not say they are out of this yet though. They still have a decent amount of infantry. I mean, it's all tattered, it's all beaten to hell. But this Skink cohort and those Chameleons should return to the fold here. Can the Ogres break them off? I love that attack animation. That is absolutely hilarious. They're so excited. But as soon as they made contact, they started dropping. Only 2 Ogres left now. 1 Ogre left now. Raptors coming in from the rear. Clever girls indeed. The Lizardmen might be dragging this one back. The Ogres are out of the picture now. All 3 of them have fallen. They're all dead. Aranessa is left. Terrorgeist is left, but that's all that's left for the forces of Sartosa. And the Lizardmen, another breath attack coming in. That killed like 1 dude, maybe. I'll have to ask Duke. I don't know what that's for. That must be meant for single entities. But Aranessa broke. The Terrorgeist is on life support, surrounded by Raptors and just a handful of Skink cohort, and they might just do it. I think they've got enough HP to kill the Terrorgeist. I think the Undead Bat is about to die off and go extinct like the rest of the dinosaurs. It's over. Spearfisher's net goes down, but Aranessa can't take on all this by herself. No way, no how. Work that pole, girl, but it won't be enough for the captain of the Swordfish. And Sartosa is out of this one. Lizardmen managed to claw that one back. Victory from the jaws of defeat. Amazing play from Alan B. And I was kind of shocked what the Skink cohort and the Cold Ones were able to do. Think about what they were able to kill in the back half of that battle. I mean, they finished off 2 Ogre units, Aranessa, and did a lot of damage to Terrorgeist too. Maneaters got really good kills, but not great damage value, of course, because most of it was from just killing Skink cohort. The Terrorgeist was probably the MVP for the forces of Sartosa, although the Ogre certainly did solidly. But the Chameleons and the Stalkers, look at those kills the Chevrons earned. The damage done to all the low armor of the Sartosan pirates. Salamanders firing in with 1600 damage value themselves. Carnosaur and Troglodon both made a good account of themselves as well. But that was an exciting one, man. That was a pretty thematic battle, first and foremost. I mean, it's cool to see Ogre Maneaters go to Lustria in search of booty, riches, and plunder. But the Lizardmen rallied back from what was a pretty terrible situation, I felt like. When they lost the Troglodon and the Carnosaur, I thought they were kind of out of it. But they crawled it back with some good Chameleon play, using them in melee with their poison to debuff the Terrorgeist. Got some good surrounds off with the flaming attacks from the Salamander, and Alan B managed to crawl that one back. That was really nicely played from both players, down to the wire. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and there will be plenty more content coming very soon. See you guys next time.